Hey guys, welcome back. Deja vu, but I don't mean the map. Well, I do mean the map, but not the map named Deja Vu, actually. Oh my god. So many good potential puns here. Thank you for tuning into ArtosisCasts, Rich vs. Royal, on Dominator. The only one getting dominated so far is Royal. Rich has actually altered his play significantly throughout the games. Like 3 very, very different openers from him. A Nexus first, a 3 Zealot opener, and then just straight Dragoon. Like, he's opening in all sorts of ways and just kind of playing Royal. I'm surprised that it's really looked like this so far. But they kept playing on Dominator, and we're gonna keep looking for a little bit. Like, I want to see at least a Royal victory. Yeah, it does make you question about Rich just not going for ASL. It does also a little bit make you question if Royal's ever going to return to top form. You know, there was a point in time where we were considering him like maybe even 3rd best Terran. But that time isn't right this moment. I mean, he's still very much an ASL regular. He's in every season. But, yeah, hasn't been delivering as much. The thing is, I think he's actually got a really good skill set for tournaments. I think it's harder to ladder for a player like this because you're going to run into too wide a variety of things to do super prep for on optimization builds. When you think about that, right? You never see Mini on top of the ladder. He's kind of the Protoss equivalent of Royal, where they come out with like these really highly optimized builds where like every mineral has its place and every place has its mineral. You know, they're kind of like trying to hit very specific amounts of units at very specific times with very specific plans. So when you play like that, if you have familiarity with the map you're playing against the player you're playing, you can really tune it in. It's part of why Royal won an ASL. If you remember back, he had the most insane builds against Zerg on all these prep matches, and it makes a world of difference. Whereas you play ladder, and people are just doing random stuff against you, and your builds are not going to be as good against that. So, yeah, I think he definitely does have a little bit harder time on the ladder. And by the way, this is Nexus first. 2 gates pretty quick. Gate, gas, gate. Over here, he's taken all 3 SCVs off gas, so this is a pretty optimized factory expansion. There's nothing like, nothing inherently wrong or right with this type of play. Like what you'll normally see is 1 SCV on gas. I guess in some ways it adds some flexibility, but you can get the command center slightly faster like this. And you can see that he's not scouting. Yeah. So, you know, it's basically just, these are optimizations. Where he's like, yeah, I save an SCV from scouting, I save one from mining gas, and thus I'm able to get the command center up a little bit faster. And in this particular case, it'll be pretty good. Only 1 Zealot being made by Rich. And in fact, I wonder, is he gonna, yeah, he does let it finish. And he'll go into Dragoons from there. He's gonna want to wall this a bit because the Vulture should be coming out pretty fast, right? Where is it? Oh, there it is. The Marines are in the way. It's slowing it down. Even little things like that. In fact, like, a lot of people were going at one point 11 on gas instead of 12. Because you can get the factory, like, 10, 12 seconds faster. Obviously, it hurts your economy a little bit to play like that. But that's because then the Vulture would always get there before the Dragoons. And even if he had made a beeline with this Vulture, the Dragoon, like, he would have been there just as these were coming up the ramp, basically. Like, I think when the Dragoon was about here, the Vulture would have been here. But yeah, as he's a little bit slow, they're both in position. Can't get anything done with this. Cancels out his bunker. Good play. Rich right now going into Robo. You know, if you look at the game so far, we had 2 carrier games from Rich. One of which, of course, was a Nexus first game. And then the last game that we just casted was a 5 factory play, and he had his observer over it, so we never saw Stargate. I think he actually was thinking about Stargate based on one of the pylons, but did not go for that. Like, which of course is the correct play. Like a 5 or 6 factory shuts that out very quickly. This I'll talk about in a second. But we'll see what he does with this game. This would actually be, based on what we see Royal doing, this would be the ideal situation to try to go carrier. He's gone Nexus first, and he's going to be playing against not only a 2-factory pressure build. Ooh, good targeting. Messed up micro there. Not only that, but also there's going to be dropship. Now, this I actually think is coming back right now. That was meta a couple years ago. 2-factory with a hidden starport on the map. But this is the perfect time for this to come back, because this is actually, when people get really used to these pokes, mines kind of get everywhere. They have to go clear those, and then even if the observer comes down here, you don't see the starport. Hidden starport's never bad, by the way. Well, I mean, it can be bad, but like, this could be mixed in at any point. It's a good mix-in build. But I think specifically with how this series has been going, and I've been explaining to you guys why carriers can be a good choice. And this will be, of course, Reaver first, but we'll see if he goes into carrier. Oh, he's going very fast observer speed. That's really interesting, actually. It's so rare to see that. It is so rare to see that. I love observer speed quick. But normally the quickest you ever see it is on 3 bases, not on 2 with 2 gates. That is rare. Okay, anyways. If he were to try to go carriers, this kind of off drop timing would probably scout it pretty quickly. I'm excited. This is a cool one. It's funny. I actually, the other day, I played against Kyak. You guys might remember I casted a game of him versus Nada. People have been asking in comments occasionally when I'm going to do like maybe a deeper dive on him, because he played such a beautiful series against Nada, or game against Nada, rather. And he went Nexus first, cross spawn into carrier against me. And I was playing really well. Like, I think I made a decent game out of it for how good he is. But afterwards, I was thinking, I need to do this against Nexus first. I literally thought that. But, yeah. You see, he comes in, he actually gets decent damage, and he sees that it's Reaver. That was very worthwhile. Only down by 2 probes now. Only turret workers behind. Yeah. Is he going to make that 3rd base? Missile turret first. Can't blame him. Missile turret's going to be going up all over the place. I don't think he has a mine under here. No. Sometimes you put mines under a floating eBay. Or floating eBay over a mine is probably more likely, considering you can't click to lay the mine under the eBay. So technically. Actually. As I push up my glasses. All right, a Wraith. Ooh, I like the Wraith ad too. Very much so. Dropship kind of floating around the side. I love seeing someone leave a dropship over here. You can just maybe ferry up units later. Like, it doesn't do too much else. You can use it for scouting, though. Like, send it across the map, or maybe put it over here in case the shuttle's coming from a funny angle, that type of thing. Float it like a building on the edge, that type of thing. All right, 3rd base is almost halfway done here for Rich. 3 more facts going up. Of course, this is after the command center. If Royal doesn't die here, which is actually a real possibility because he's just sitting there with his tanks. Oh, Jesus. The turret is saving him so hard right now. If that turret hadn't been there, the game would be over. Might still. I was going to say, if he doesn't die, the position's very good for him. So, actually, yeah. I mean, this is obviously game. This is obviously game. You can't come back from this. And it's anticlimactic, and I'm sorry. Obviously I don't watch any games ahead of time. A couple ideas I want to go over here, because this actually just made me think of something that Tasteless was asking me about the other day. Tasteless has been doing a lot of Nexus first builds, and he's been losing a lot to a very fast 3rd CC. And so I told him about one all-in that I know about, where you on 2 base you go speed very quickly for Zealots. But this is actually something I hadn't even considered. And I was talking about this I think Rich just taught me something here. I've actually just got chills as this is all coming together in my brain. Okay, so I think I talked about it in game 1 about how late the third base was and how I feel like the strongest thing about Nexus First is a fast third base. But he's been taking third bases that are much later than a regular Dragoon expansion into Reaver will have a faster third than this. This is a very slow third, despite the fact that it was Nexus First. So I was looking at this as, why are you doing this? This seems so slow. Like, why don't you just get up to your macro very quickly? And what we've seen here, because Royal did something that's like pretty normal against Nexus First. If you don't attack Nexus First right off the bat, you oftentimes take a really fast third. You do a little bit of zoning with turrets and you get your tanks out and you kind of place them well. And your opponent can't really attack in. But what we've seen here from Rich is he's made this, excuse me, funny medium amount of gateways and medium amount of units on 2 base. He's sitting here on 4 gates. He's making way more units than we're used to from Nexus First, and he's getting shuttle speed and Reaver. And the thing is, as soon as you are getting into Reaver, you're forcing more missile turrets. And you'll notice that, like, he was about to take his third, then he saw it was Reaver, and then instead of taking the third, he started this turret and this turret. Because he's like, well, okay, he has Reaver. Like, we have to make sure we have some missile turrets. Which slows down these factories, which allows the build of Dragoons to, like, actually have more impact. This is fascinating, because this actually reminds me, off the top of my head, it kind of reminds me of what I like about Cal's play. If you remember Cal, he's kind of the least active, no, second least active to Zhongbi. Zhongbi's completely retired. But the second least active out of the dragons, the 6 dragons of Protoss from 2008, 2009. But he plays kind of a similar, flexible, slightly heavier unit on lower base Reaver type of play. That's very similar to what we've seen here. I'm going to send this game to Tasteless. Thank you for watching, guys. Appreciate you. Sorry the game was a bit anticlimactic, but the best played games are the most one-sided games. The scrappy base trade, crazy, oh my god, what's going on? Generally, there's been a lot of mistakes that led to that. This is a quick, clean finish from Rich. Very well done. He's up 4-0 on Royal. See you guys next time.